Is Grubhub worth it in 2024? Well, after working for Grubhub on and off for about 7 years now, I wanted to share my thoughts on driving for Grubhub and food delivery in general. If you're considering joining the gig economy, or if you already are part of the gig economy and are wondering if it's still worth it, this video is for you. Let's get started. So in this video, I'll talk about what I like about Grubhub, what I don't like about Grubhub, and whether or not I feel like it is still worth driving in 2024. Please stick around for the end of the video where I will share my final thoughts on driving for Grubhub in 2024. So a little background about me. I started driving for Grubhub in the fall/winter of 2017. I had a colleague that I was working with during my part-time job, and she was driving for Grubhub on the side, and I was curious to just know what it was like to drive for Grubhub. So she offered to take me along with her for her drive for a couple of days, just to kind of see how it is, the process, and kind of get a feel of what it's like to be on the road and picking up food and delivering. It was a really fun experience. It was really awesome to just be able to bond with her and just be out and about and be productive. So that was really fun. So after tagging along with her for a couple of rides, I realized that this is something that I might want to do as a side hustle. Now, at the time, I did have a part-time job that was making a good amount of money that I didn't feel like I needed extra money, but it was just very enticing to know that I could possibly drive for Grubhub and make some extra cash on the side. So I did. I went ahead and I applied for Grubhub, got in, and started driving almost immediately. When I first started, it was mainly just a side hustle. I did it as just some extra income. It came in really handy, especially when I was planning some trips that I wanted to have some extra cash for. And it was just nice to know that there was like a second stream of income coming in through Grubhub. So with all that being said, let's start with some of the pros of driving for Grubhub. What are the things that I like about driving for Grubhub? For starters, the flexible hours. So with Grubhub, there's two ways to deliver for the company. The first way is to schedule yourself like driving blocks, scheduled blocks that are kind of predetermined that you can select when they're available. They could be 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. I think the highest block amount was about 2 hours. I may be wrong. It's been a while since I've driven for Grubhub. But essentially what I really liked about it was just the flexibility of driving for Grubhub, being able to just check the available schedules and select what's available based on my availability, and just being able to have that secured and ready to go. That is a huge bonus when it comes to driving for Grubhub or any kind of food delivery service in general, that it's a very flexible type of work. You're not like stuck driving at a certain time that you don't want, and you can kind of pick and choose your schedule essentially. The second pro is that it is pretty decent pay. Now, keep in mind, I'm only vouching for Grubhub because that's the only food delivery service that I have worked with. I haven't worked with any of the other ones like Uber Eats or DoorDash, so I can't vouch for those. But what I could do is vouch for Grubhub. From my understanding, Grubhub, at least at the time in which I started, Grubhub was the only food delivery service that actually had like guaranteed pay. So that was a huge bonus for me. Essentially, what that means is if you worked let's say you schedule yourself for 5 hours, and let's say your local minimum wage is $14. So in those 5 hours, you should be making about $70, right? 5 times 14 is 70. However, there may be a time in which you don't make $70 during that 5 hour period. What Grubhub will do in that situation is they will supplement your income to match that minimum if you did not reach it. So for example, if I worked 5 hours and I only made $60 during those 5 hours, but I should have made about 70, Grubhub will supplement that pay with an extra $10 to reach the 70. There are some caveats with this. I believe at the time that I was doing it, in order to reach that like guaranteed pay, you had to have accepted at least 80% of your orders. And you had to have been logged on the entire time. So there couldn't be any like breaks of like logging off, logging back on, logging off, logging back on. You had to be active essentially during those 5 hours, which is pretty doable, especially if you like have already committed your time for that 5 hour mark, that 5 hour period. So what they would do is they would supplement that pay. Now, in 2024, I don't know if they do that anymore. I believe they don't do that anymore. I think what they do is they do it based off what they call active delivery time, which I'll talk about later in the video. So I don't know if they do that guaranteed pay anymore. But just keep in mind that that was a huge benefit that enticed me to keep going with GrubHub. The third pro that I would say for GrubHub was the app usability. I really felt like it was a really smooth process. The app hardly ever really had any bugs, didn't really crash on me, and it was really intuitive. I remember when I would get notified to collect an order, the app actually gave me a few seconds to read the order that was being offered and decide whether or not to accept it. And if you accept it, it transitions directly to, well, here's the map, here's where to go, and here's where to drop it off. And then if you declined it, it gave you a brief few options of why you're declining. So you can state, my car is not working, or, I'm having car trouble. You could even say, oh, distance is too far, the pay is too low. Whatever it is, they do want you to select a reason for declining it. And then once you decline it, they just won't put it into your queue and you can move on from there. I want to say the final pro that I really liked about GrubHub, and one of the reasons why I did choose GrubHub or like food delivery as opposed to like Lyft or Uber, just regular driving like rideshare apps. The reason why I chose GrubHub is because I did like that it was like minimal contact. I really didn't have to interact with that many people. I didn't really have to interact with customers that much. It was really just, pick up food, bring food to my car, drive to the customer and drop it off. I didn't have to bring any strangers in my car. So there wasn't really any damage done to my car. I think I may have spilled some food once or twice, or not even food. It was more like the drinks. But other than that, it was a really smooth process. It was easy to keep clean. And it was pretty safe. I mean, you didn't have any strangers in your car, so that was a huge bonus. Now, a bonus pro that I want to add to this for GrubHub is when it's busy. I mean, it's busy, and you essentially want it to be busy, because I remember when I first started, it was around, again, like late fall, early winter. It was like beginning of December of 2017, and I remember like the days were ending a lot sooner, so it was getting really dark very early. It was getting really cold. It was starting to rain. So these are all situations in which customers don't really want to go out and they would rather stay in. Well, when they would rather stay in, that's actually good, because what that means is they're going to want to order food from out. So I remember during December, like right before the holidays, it was like business was booming. I was getting constant orders. They were really good orders, and it was very consistent. There wasn't really that many gaps in orders, and I was getting paid quite a good amount, especially for like a broke college kid at the time. It was definitely worth it. But with the pros come the cons. So I want to talk about some of the things that I don't like about GrubHub, and a lot of these things are things that kind of make me not want to continue with GrubHub. Although, I will be picking up some blocked shifts soon, but these are just some things that I want to share so that you can keep in mind before you decide to do GrubHub. The first con is that pay can be inconsistent. So what do I mean by that? So when I first started, there was guaranteed pay that was based off of your hours. But since then, GrubHub has changed their guaranteed pay structure. And what that means is, instead of it being guaranteed pay during the entire block in which you're scheduled, it's guaranteed pay during active delivery time, what they call active delivery time. So what that means is, let's say you're scheduled for 4 hours, but in those 4 hours, you're really only engaged in active delivery time for 2.5 hours. Active delivery time means the time between when you accept the order, drive to the restaurant, pick up the food, drop off to the customer, and then, finalize the delivery. That is active delivery time. So let's say during a 2 hour block, you've only got 3 orders. And each of those orders, the active delivery time was only 20 minutes. You essentially only get 1 hour of active delivery time, right? 3 times 20 minutes is 1 hour. So you only got 1 hour of active delivery time. So even though you were scheduled for 2 hours, you were only engaged in 1 hour of active delivery time. So that's how they will base your guaranteed pay. That is a huge turnoff. And I understand that those who like the guaranteed pay that they used to have, where it was based off of just the scheduled block time, they're not going to like this active delivery time change. But that is why I wanted to include it in my cons for GrubHub. So that's something to keep in mind. The next con that I want to talk about is the maintenance on your car. So when I first started, I had a leased vehicle. It was like a Honda Fit. It was just a little basic car, but I had it as a lease at the time. I didn't have it as finance. I just needed a car to kind of get through my day to day. With a leased vehicle, you will have a limited amount of miles that you can drive each month. For me, it was 1,000 miles per month. So that comes out to only about 30 miles, 33 miles a day per month. Despite the fact that I had this mileage limit, I still went ahead and did GrubHub only because I knew that whatever mileage I go over, I wouldn't mind paying the over mileage fees that may accumulate at the end of my lease. But that is something to keep in mind. If you do have a leased vehicle, you will be driving a lot more miles than you would if you just worked a 9 to 5. That's something to keep in mind. And along with the miles also comes the gas. Even though you are making money as you're driving for GrubHub, you're also kind of spending money because you are using up a lot of gas. So that's something to keep in mind. I will say though, with GrubHub, as opposed to like rideshare delivery services, the driving for GrubHub or food delivery in general is not going to be as much mileage as it would if it was rideshare. Because I mean, with rideshare, for example, I could be picking somebody up from like the Inland Empire, right? But then having to drop them off to Los Angeles Airport. That's a long drive, right? You're not going to get that kind of drive if you do food delivery. Usually food delivery commutes are a lot shorter, a lot more local. So there's pros and cons to that. But just keep in mind that in general, because it is a food delivery service, with GrubHub, you are going to be putting miles on your car. The final con that I want to talk about is competition and saturation of delivery partners. So when it comes to GrubHub, thankfully, because I did sign up like almost 7 years ago, I kind of get like seniority when it comes to like little perks within the app. But I do know that like for other delivery companies, even if you try to go apply for them now, there may be like a delay in which you can get accepted into the program because of the saturation of drivers that already exist. Now, this could be because of the pandemic. I'm pretty sure a lot of people wanted to pick up extra shifts, just want to make some extra cash during the pandemic. So during the pandemic is when a lot of these delivery companies kind of like went overboard with how many they've hired on. And because of that, now there's like a larger pool of drivers that exist for these companies. That's something that I would say is a con, only because if you are somebody new in 2024 who wants to get into the business, it might be a while until you get like priority orders, right? Like you might not get your first catering order for like a month or two since you start. However, I will say though, don't be discouraged. And I would recommend that if you do want to do a food delivery service type of job, I would say go ahead and apply for it. Don't let that stop you, because even though there are a large number of delivery partners, they're not going to always be active. They're not going to always be out driving. So there still might be time for you to toggle on and pick up some orders even when you first start out. So is GrubHub worth it in 2024? I want to say it really depends on your situation. I know that sounds cliche, but it really does. It really depends on your situation. I think that if you are looking to do GrubHub as like your full-time work, I would definitely say it's not worth it. Only because of the cons that I described earlier in this video. You're going to be using up a lot of gas. If it's your full-time work, it's going to take a huge toll on your car, and you might just get really burnt out really quick. from just all the driving and walking and driving and walking. So that's something that I would keep in mind. Now, if you're looking to do Grubhub just as like a side hustle, make an extra couple hundred, $200, $300, $400 each weekend, then I would say, yeah, you know what, Grubhub is worth it. It's extra cash in your pocket, and just like I mentioned earlier in the video, for like the pros, you're not working for any kind of boss. You're not working with customers directly. You're not working with people. It's just pretty much like your own like little hobby work. So I would say it's worth it in that sense if you are doing it just to make some extra cash. So if you do decide to do Grubhub, I really hope you enjoy it. Please let me know in the comments down below if it's something that you are looking to do. Overall, I think Grubhub is a great option if you're looking to make some extra money, if you have some extra time on the side and you want to utilize your time to get a return of income. I would say that Grubhub is a great option for you. So there you have it. Those are my final thoughts on Grubhub in 2024. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have you tried Grubhub? Maybe other food delivery services? I would love to hear about your experiences, and I would love if you can share with other viewers of your experiences. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this content. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.